What's going on, Packer fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Pack a Day podcast. I'm your host, Andy Herman. You can follow me on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL. Thank you so much for being here today. Always appreciate you guys so incredibly much. I haven't had a chance to really go into detail with it lately, but you guys have been absolutely incredible. The likes, the comments, just the viewership, the subscribers, everything's been amazing. So thank you for being you. Thank you for joining me on this journey. And there's going to be a lot of really fun stuff coming up. Hint, hint, wink, wink. So keep posted for more there. But just super excited for this Packer season coming up, and just want to thank you again for joining me as part of this. But enough of all the gushy stuff. Let's jump into today's episode. And I want to go over today some Packers that need to bounce back in 2023, the bounce back pack, if you will. And for a team that, again, I think some of us are hoping can make a run at a playoff spot. Obviously, Jordan Love is going to have so much say in just how good he is and how much control of the offense he has. And what is he as a starter? Is he great? Is he good? Is he average? Is he bad? Is he terrible? Like the range of what could happen at the quarterback position is massive, and we just don't know. So that's going to be the biggest thing. But I think we sort of then look to all of this rookies and the second-year players, and like, those are great things to look at, and those are going to be huge integral pieces to how well this team can perform in 2023. But if you're really looking for Green Bay to have a much better season than I think some people are predicting, don't look at the young guys. Look at the guys that have already played really, really good football in Green Bay and basically didn't a season ago. And those are the players that if Green Bay wants to get back and really make an impact and show what they're capable of and say, hey, we're not going to roll over, we're not rebuilding, we're going to go out and win every week, these are the players that need to step back up and take control of this football team and be the players that they're capable of being. So these are in no particular order. Let's start with A.J. Dillon. A.J. Dillon in 2021 had a 5.70 grade by me. These are all my grades. If you're not familiar, I go through and grade every player on every play. I've done it since 2017. Have a consistent grading scale that you're getting from me every single week. So it's one of my it's my favorite thing to do every single year. It's so fun. It gives me so much insight into the players and the team just by watching every snap with that much detail. But per my grades, A.J. Dillon in 2021 had a plus 5.7 grade. In 2022, still a good grade, was actually one of still the better players on offense and just overall on the team for Green Bay with a plus 1.85 grade, but still went down significantly from what he was in 2021. Now, a couple things. AJ's basically said that he needs to be better in 2023. And I love his ownership. I love how he interacts with fans. I love all of it. His tweet when he basically said that was phenomenal. So he's aware of it. He knows he needs to get better. He's capable of getting better. And we've seen what AJ can do in big games when he's given the ball. I've been pretty adamant that I do believe that A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones sort of counteract each other from time to time. It does feel like sometimes as soon as Jones gets going, oh, Dillon's in the game. And then Dillon kind of gets a handful of touches and just starts to maybe get going. And then, oh, Jones is back in the game. This isn't anything new. This is the modern day NFL with running backs sharing carries. But whereas some running backs seem to complement each other very well, and just as maybe the big bruising running back has the team worn down, now you're bringing in the speed guy, and all of a sudden there's these huge gaping holes because the run defense is tired, and that speed guy can hit some big runs. Those complement each other, right? With Jones and Dillon, it feels like sometimes they're counterbalancing each other. And like I said, it feels like both of them are momentum-based runners and that they need to get in the game. They need to get carries. They need to get hit a handful of times, and they start to wear down the defense, and then they can go. And it hasn't always worked out that way. Sometimes we've seen it, but like there have been very few times where Jones and Dillon have both had good games. It's usually like one or the other. And a lot of times with Dillon, it's usually just when he's the guy and Jones is maybe, sat out or not done as much. And with Jones, it's like when he gets the lion's share of the load, usually good things happens. So I don't have a perfect answer, but I do think they need to figure out that rotation a little bit better. And I do think Dillon, when he just gets his opportunities, whether he gets 3 touches or 30 touches in a game, every one of those touches is valuable, and it just needs to overall be better. He's got to do a better job of breaking tackles. He's got to do a better job of staying on balance. He's gone down around the ankles a little bit, probably too often, and he kind of said the same thing. I have a lot of faith in A.J. Dillon still. Catches the ball in the backfield well. He has incredible size, but they've got to figure out a way to use that functional strength and use that to their advantage, because as of late, it just hasn't been that impressive and that important. And I do think Green Bay still has a really good player there. So they got to find a way to unlock A.J. Dillon in some capacity. Next up is Josh Myers. In 2021, his rookie year, I actually had him at a plus 0.1 grade. So basically a neutral level player. Remember, he didn't finish the season, had some injury issues, came back at the very end, and then came back in 2022. And everyone, I think, was expecting, oh, okay, he's going to be able to build on that rookie year. Remember, he had the injuries. He's going to come back, and this is going to be another one of these really good Packers centers. He was not. He was bad in 2022. So 0.1 grade in 2021, negative 4.15 grade in 2022. Was not the same, was not consistent. And I do wonder, like, Aaron put a lot of pressure on him, both just mentally and like he would get after Josh from time to time. Sometimes some players just don't respond to that well. And we'll see with a new quarterback if maybe Josh feels a little bit more comfortable. Maybe Josh needs to move to guard, and maybe center is just a little bit too much thinking and he just needs to go out and play football. I don't know. But last year was not good enough. And this is a player that was a second round pick. And I know we can talk about Creed Humphrey, Josh Myers for forever, but like he was a good second round worthy center coming out of college, in my opinion. And I thought in 2021, there were signs that he showed he could be at least a decent to average center. And in 2022, he was not below average to bad. And that needs to get back to at least average, if not good, in 2022. If he wants to keep his job, if he wants to remain the starting center, and if he wants this offensive line to get better, Josh Myers can be a huge piece of that. And just improving to the level of average would really step up what that offensive line is capable of in 2022. Next up is his running mate. Right next to him, right guard, John Runyan Jr. In 2021, he was my highest graded offensive lineman. Now, remember, Elgton Jenkins went out with the injury. David Bakhtiari was out the entire year. So there wasn't much left. But John Runyan Jr. had a plus 3.65 grade in 2021. I thought he had a really, really solid season. Last year in 2022, negative 2.15, a 5.8 swing in the very wrong direction. I still think there's a lot of meat on the bone with John Runyan Jr. Not only do I think he can be a solid guard, not only do I think he can be a good guard, I think he can be a Pro Bowl level guard. And I know some people are going to disagree, but I think he has the tools necessary, and I think he has the demeanor and everything he needs to be a potential Pro, and whatever Pro Bowl level guard means now, Pro Bowl skills competition, I don't know, whatever. But you get my point. I think he can get to that level. He has to find consistency. The weird thing with Runyan as you watch him is there will be games where you go through and you're like, everything's just kind of on cruise control. He's doing good. Everything seems good. And then he just goes through this like weird phase in a game where it's like he forgets. Like he just does, like, I don't know if it's just doesn't have the same intensity or just does kind of put it on cruise control for a little bit. I don't know what it is, but there's these spurts in games where you're just like, wow, he's having a really good game. And then it's just like, what just happened? Like all of a sudden the play fell off the face of the earth. It's so weird. And he just has to find that level of consistency and figure out how to play consistent snaps and consistent games and be the same guy down in and down out. That's the TJ Langs and the Josh Sittons and the Mark Tauschers and the Corey Linsleys, the guys that just snap after snap are so freaking consistent. Obviously David Bakhtiari, Elgton Jenkins when he was, pre-injury and towards the end of last year, after he sort of recovered from injury. The consistency is key. Runyan hasn't found it yet. The good stuff is really, really good, but there's just too much bad stuff. And if he can just clean up that bad stuff, we can get back at least to what he was like in 2021. And I think there's even more like I said, more meat on the bone there for him to chew off and really make himself into a really, really good football player. All right, next up is Kenny Clark. Now, Kenny Clark was my second highest graded player on the Packers defense last year. So in no way am I saying that Kenny was bad last year. However, here have been Kenny's grades since he was drafted. Plus 10.95, plus 13.1, plus 11.7, plus 9.8, plus 11.7. Last year, plus 4.25. So outside of 2 years ago when he was a plus 9.8, just barely under a plus 10 grade, for 5 straight years, basically, he graded as a plus 10 or better player. 5 straight years. Then in last year, plus 4.25. Basically, he was half as good. He was half as good. And there were stretches last year where he just didn't look the same. Not the same dominant Kenny Clark that we're used to. It wasn't bad. It certainly wasn't bad. Like I said, still the second best graded player on the Packers defense, second to only Rashawn Gary, who didn't even play the whole year. That's how good Gary was in his limited playing time. But he's a good football player. But for 2, 3, 4, 5 straight years, he was beyond great. He was great. Last year, he was good. And there's a huge difference between good and great. And I need to see Kenny Clark be back being great because I know he can. I think he will. But I want to see Kenny Clark dominating up front again. Last year I didn't see that. I saw a good Kenny Clark. I want to see him get back to being great Kenny Clark. Then we get to the enigma that is Preston Smith. Here have been his grades. And if you go back to all of his time, like it's good year, bad year, good year, bad year, good year, bad year. First year, plus 10.4. Second year, negative 4.55. Negative 15, point jump in the wrong direction. Just a massive, crazy swing from 2020 to 2021. So plus 10.4, negative 4.55. Then the next year, plus 2.85. Then last year, negative 2.45. So really good, really bad, good, bad. Can we get to really good again? That would be really, really nice. But we've seen anything from Preston Smith at plus 10.4, plus 2.85, negative 2.45, negative 4.55. Overall, through 4 seasons, that grade's well overall, but it's just inconsistent year in and year out. Now, thankfully, this is supposed to be the year where he does good. So it's good, bad, and then this would be the good year. So hopefully this is the good year for Preston Smith, but I don't necessarily need to see him get back to the plus 10.4. That was incredible, especially the first half of that season when him and Z were in their first season in Green Bay. But man, if he can even get half as good as that, we are talking about a really, really good Preston Smith. I think he still has the level to get there, but I need to see a little bit more. It was not as good a season ago, and I want to see good Preston Smith again because that would be amazing, especially with Rashawn probably out to start the season. Next is Devondre Campbell, and you know this, right? First team All-Pro, or what? Yeah, first team All-Pro, plus 5.7 grade, 2 years ago. Last year, negative 1.7 grade. 7.4 swing. That is a huge jump in the wrong direction. And we saw the missed tackles, and Devondre has also owned up to it. I love that too. He said, some uncharacteristic missed tackles last year. He knows he has to be better. I think he will be better. And I'm excited to see him hopefully get back to that first team All-Pro level of playing because we saw he can do it and do it at a very high level. Now, does he need to be first team All-Pro? No. Can he be, even a second team, or can he even just play it like a Pro Bowl level player? Yeah, that would be amazing. So we've seen him play extremely good football in Green Bay. Last year was not that. I want to see him bounce back and have the year that he had, at least close to it, what he had in 2021, and do that again in 2023. Next up is Eric Stokes. Plus 1.25 grade as a rookie corner. That is a very, very good grade. It's just it. If you're grading the positive as a rookie corner, you've done a very good job. And remember too, Jaire went down that year. So he was basically playing as corner 1 that season. Now Rasul had a good season on the opposite side, but he had a really good year as a rookie. Last year, you might be thinking, well, yeah, he was injured. No, this is pre-injury, negative 3.65. He took a major step back. And again, that all of this should be concerning, by the way, that this many players took major steps back last year should be concerning in some capacity. But the other good news is that we've seen all these players play at an incredibly high level, including Eric Stokes, maybe not an incredibly high level, but a very high level for a rookie. If he can even get back to that once he's back from injury, and there's going to be some recovery time and readjustment time there, but if he can even get back to a positive level player, that will be a huge improvement for Green Bay and a really nice player. So he just needs to get back to what he was doing as a rookie. And if he can do that, that will be a real positive step in the right direction. Rasul Douglas, same thing. When he came back, or when he came in mid-season, Green Bay signed him, had a massive year, plus 6.1 grade that season. Last year, negative 1.0. Now, he got better last year as the year went along, did not start great. A lot of that was in the slot. They played him out of position, and then he got back, and he was graded in the positive more towards the end of the year. But that's a negative 7.1 swing. And we've seen him play extremely good football. Now, he needs to be on the outside. They need to be in, more press man, more physical coverage with Rasul. That's just how he wins. That's just when he does well. And they did not set him up for success at the beginning of last year. But, likelihood he's going to be the starter on the outside with Eric Stokes, starting on probably on either on a pup list or, some sort of just not active on week 1 in some capacity. Probably starts as an outside corner. And I think he probably owns that spot for a while. So he needs to get back to playing at the level that he was. I know it was just a 1-year thing, but he played so incredibly well that 1 year. Again, doesn't necessarily have to be right to that level, but if he can be good again, if he can grade in the positive again, there'll be another player that could take a really big step in the right direction and really help Green Bay make a better impact this year and help this team get back to a playoff level of play. Obviously, a lot depends on Jordan Love, but there's a lot at play here, and there's a lot of these players that can help Green Bay get to a level of prominence. Prominence might be strong, but you know what I mean. They can play a lot better if these players play better. Darnell Savage. Now, this is not a 1-year bounce back. This is a 2-year bounce back, and I've talked about this on numerous occasions, but 2020, in his best year, graded plus 4.65. Plus 4.65, really, really good grade. In 2021, negative 4.15. In 2022, negative 5.2. 2 bad seasons following a really good 2020 season. I'll say it once again. Doesn't have to necessarily be as good as it was in 2020, but if it can just not be as bad as it was in 2021 and 2022, and he can get to neutral or average, that will be another massive step in the right direction. So there's a lot of sort of just low-hanging fruit here, where if players just at least play at a neutral level and aren't in the negative, this team could actually take a pretty significant step, depending on what Jordan does at quarterback. And the last one is Jaire Alexander. This is a little bit of a Kenny Clark-ish one as well. Plus 7.0, plus 8.95, plus 13.55 in his first 3 seasons. Then in his 4th year, he only played 5 games, but had a plus 2.9 grade in those 5 games, which would have been basically a plus 10 season in a 17-game season. And then last year was plus 0.8. So plus 7, plus 9, plus 13.5, plus 10 basically in the first 4 seasons, if you sort of average it out. And then last year was basically plus 1. So way far down from what he was in his first 4 seasons when he was active and playing. Last year was not quite the same. The tackling wasn't the same. That was a big issue. And he wasn't quite as aggressive at the point of attack. Gave up some bigger plays. He needs to be a shutdown first-team all-pro corner if this defense really wants to be good. He has to play a lot better. This is a really big season for Jaire Alexander. He's going to be good almost no matter what. Like, he can sleepwalk and be a pretty darn good corner in this league. He can't sleepwalk. He has to be, like I said, in the conversation for best corner in the league. That should be the expectation for Jaire. It wasn't there a season ago. We need to see it there in 2023. Those are my guys. Those are my guys that I think ultimately need to play a much better brand of football in 2023 and have bounce back seasons. Again, I'm calling them my bounce back pack. My full list of players, reading them off one more time: A.J. Dillon, Josh Myers, John Runyan Jr., Kenny Clark, Preston Smith, Devondre Campbell, Eric Stokes, Rasul Douglas, Darnell Savage, and Jaire Alexander. My 10 guys that we have seen play at a very high level, or at least a good enough level that they were impressive players. They did not play that way a season ago. It needs to be better. And if those 10 guys can bounce back and play a good brand of football, there's a lot more that this team can accomplish in 2023 than I think a lot of people are giving them credit for. That's going to do it for me today. Thank you so much for joining me. We'll be right back here tomorrow with an all-new episode. But until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.